Northwest Florida, rather. Again, banding features. You'll see the rain kind of stop again. A little bit of dry air is mixed in the mid-levels of this storm, so it's causing some of these little broken rain bands at this point. So it'll be sort of on again, off again for the next couple of hours. This is something we've put together. Highest observed winds. We've looked at this since midnight. So we're taking in the highest winds from all of our instrumentation, and this is what we've recorded. So far, we've recorded a sustained wind of 52 miles per hour at Dauphin Island, 45 at Gulf Shores, 39 at Pensacola. Those are all tropical storm force winds. And at one point, we had sustained winds closing in on 49 miles per hour at Mobile. So those are all sustained tropical storm force winds. That wind shield is moving off to the north and will continue to do so as we move through the rest of the afternoon and certainly into the evening hours. Our in-house forecast model, I must say, actually has been doing a pretty good job in terms of positioning and this eastward trend with the movement here. As we move into the overnight, that northernmost eye wall, that is where I'm thinking we're going to see those hurricane force winds. You could still easily get gusts tonight and into tomorrow morning, maybe around, let's say, 95, closing in on 100 miles per hour within that area. So this timing brings in about 4 a.m. I want you to just note that the timing of this is still uncertain. Right now, the Hurricane Center believes it might be closer to 7. Our modeling brings it closing in around 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. Some may actually push this a little bit farther, but just note maybe around 3 a.m. to 10 a.m. right now is a projected window for landfall. Now, the good news with this, if there is any, for our Mississippi counties, is that by Wednesday morning, if this were to be the landfall, notice some drier air starts moving in on the west side of the circulation. It'll be windy. There will be some rain in there, but it won't be nearly as bad as it is in Alabama. Northwest Florida, if this forecast holds, you will certainly see some really nasty conditions as we move into tomorrow morning, really through the entire first half of the day. We fast forward to 10 o'clock in the morning. Circulation starts to pick up a little forward speed and some forward momentum. We'll start to see heavy rain spreading into Clark, Monroe, Conecuh, and also Escambia counties. Moving up 65, the circulation will move. Now on the back side of this, drier air starts moving in. So actually our rain chances really start to diminish as we move into the afternoon, the second half of the day. And as we move into the evening, you'll notice maybe some lingering showers. It'll just be a breezy and cloudy evening Thursday. And then as we move into Thursday morning, sunrise, still gonna deal with some clouds, still gonna deal with some wind, but we'll start breaking out some sun late in the day, and things will finally start to get a little bit back to normal here. And then certainly I think by Friday, actually we'll get in on some drier air, and that might stick around for the weekend. So once we get past that Thursday time frame, guys, things are going to start to really improve. So a lot of, I think, good news coming our way long term. Again, the bad news, though, as we move into the next couple of hours is that I really think, let's go 4 p.m. today through about 10 a.m. tomorrow morning. That is going to be the window now where folks, I think, things are really going to start going downhill. It's just tracking this thing as slow as it's been has been the really difficult thing. Any kind of jogs left or right, east or west, or north or south, but 2 miles per hour. I kind of mentioned, you mentioned it earlier, most of us walk around this building and jog around here much faster than this storm is moving right now. And
when you look at the possible rainfall, landfall for any time from 3 a.m. to 10 a.m., that's a pretty large amount of time.
It is. It's a very large window. And normally, and even speaking with our friends at our local weather service office, they even will admit there is more uncertainty than they would like to see with this in terms of the landfall. But regardless of the exact landfall point, the highest winds will likely come, maybe around midnight tonight to 7 a.m. as that northern eye wall moves in.
So we don't need to focus on, I think we do, we focus on landfall. With this storm, that shouldn't be our biggest focus.
And you saw on the radar, it's lopsided. Everything's to the east of this. So we're talking northwest Florida. I still think you can get some hurricane force gusts tomorrow morning. It's certainly possible for Pensacola Beach, and Navarre as well. Milton, can't rule it out. But once you get into Okaloosa County, chance of hurricane winds is pretty low. But again, it's the water, guys. That's what's going to be the big story with this. And this will be the story of Sally that will go down in the record books here on the Gulf Coast.
But starting around 4 o'clock, in about an hour and a half, we're going to notice a difference in conditions outside.
Yeah, I think by 4 o'clock, there's a pretty solid band of rain, which is sitting just off the coast of Orange Beach, Gulf Shores, Dauphin Island. I think within that band, you're going to start seeing 60-mile-per-hour sustained winds. That will slowly inch forward, and then eventually all of that's going to move north this evening. And so I really think that's when conditions will start seeing those steady tropical storm force conditions, probably starting around 4 or 5 o'clock this afternoon.
All right. Thank you very much, Ed. I know you're getting some updates. We'll let you go back to the Weather Center and see what's going on. We'll talk to you in a little while. But in the meantime, we want to take a look at some video out of Fort Morgan that we are getting from one of our viewers. We appreciate him or her sending this to us. This is just showing the waves there going under that home. That's a little too close to that home for me.
A little bit too close to comfort. And as we understand it, waves right now in Fort Morgan are at 7 to 10 feet. Look at those waves just churning up there in Fort Morgan, which we want to remind you is part of a curfew that starts tonight at 8 o'clock. Look at that ball just being tossed about.
As we were saying, that's the only thing enjoying the storm. You know, and if you have a home on Fort Morgan, you know this is the price you pay. 98% of the time it's beautiful and you're so lucky, and then the 2% of the time give you a heart attack worrying about your home as this person and seeing the water just come under their pilings and hoping that their home will be okay when this is over.
Look, I'm already looking forward to the sunshine that Ed says that we can enjoy coming up on Thursday. But in the meantime, we have to weather this storm and want folks to certainly take heed. As I mentioned, the Pleasure Island curfew, which includes Fort Morgan, Orange Beach, and Gulf Shores, starts at 8 o'clock tonight until 6 o'clock tomorrow morning.
Right. We want to go to Pleasure Island. WKRG News 5's Debbie Williams is monitoring the conditions for us in Gulf Shores.
Conditions from Hurricane Sally not expected to get any better anytime soon here in Gulf Shores, in Orange Beach, along Fort Morgan. The impacts of this storm already being felt. Sally pushes the Gulf of Mexico onto the beaches of Gulf Shores all the way to the boardwalk. Waves of 10 to 15 feet breaking in the surf zone, the most obvious signs of a storm still offshore. And while Sally is expected to be a water event, rain and storm surge, the wind cannot be underestimated. As it ripped up one of the canopies on the boardwalk at Gulf Place, the wind also knocking down power lines, leaving hundreds waiting for the lights to come back on. Further inland, torrential rains have started to overtake local roadways like Windmill Ridge Road in Gulf Shores. The rain also helping to send Little Lagoon over its banks. And along the Fort Morgan Peninsula, Sally is putting on quite a show, but not one that should be taken lightly. Folks in areas like this that are known to flood are being asked to move away from the coast until the storm passes. Gulf Shores and Orange Beach will have a curfew tonight, starting at 8 o'clock till 6 a.m. on Wednesday morning. They'll do it again Wednesday night into Thursday morning. They're trying to keep as many people as possible off the roads during the height of this storm. And they say that once the winds do reach 45 miles per hour and are sustained, the bridges on Pleasure Island will close. That's the Perdido Pass Bridge, the toll bridge, and the bridge over the ICW here in Gulf Shores. In Gulf Shores, Debbie Williams, WKRG News 5.
All right, she's holding on to her hat there. Let's go ahead and take a live look at our camera in Orange Beach to see conditions there as Hurricane Sally is making her way closer to our area. And as you can see, it is rainy and the water is moving onto shore, and those waves continue to pick on up. And this is not an ideal picture for Orange Beach, but conditions will certainly start to deteriorate as the evening progresses.
Yeah, I mean, this is a live picture from right there at Turquoise Place, or excuse me, not Turquoise Place, one of the Phoenix buildings. And you can see, Roseanne, there's really not a lot of beach left as those strong waves are coming on shore. Conditions really deteriorating since the last time we had seen this picture.
And as we are waiting for Hurricane Sally to come closer to the Gulf Coast, as we heard Ed say, it could make landfall from Mississippi to Florida. Certainly flooding has been throughout the Gulf Coast already with the feeder bands we've seen. And Pascagoula also saw some flooding today, and I know we heard from the police chief there as well.
Yes, we did. Pascagoula is seeing some flooding. We talked to Chief Matt Chapman saying the Beach Boulevard is already closed, he said, and that is an area that typically floods. They also have some creeks that run through the city, and they are seeing some flooding. So he's asking everybody, please stay home. We don't want to have to rescue you. And that's the big message from all of our public officials along the Gulf Coast. Stay home. We don't need to be out rescuing you. You can see some of the cars that are still out on the roads, and hopefully they are making their way home, because I mean, you can see the water there really coming on over. I believe this may be Beach Boulevard
in
Pascagoula. So you can see that flooding is already underway and already covering some of the roadways. So this is Pascagoula. Keep that in mind. Again, the impacts being felt already all the way from Mississippi to the Florida Panhandle.
Look how close that water is coming into the picnic table there. Now we are taking a look at video from Walton County as the impacts of Hurricane Sally are being felt all along the Gulf Coast, and conditions will start to deteriorate. We heard Ed say we're going to see some change happening around 4 o'clock this afternoon. And the Hurricane Center, as he mentioned, is predicting landfall around 7 o'clock in the morning. But he said, you know, something about this storm is there's been so much uncertainty. This has been a tough one to really predict for all involved. So there is a window. It can make landfall from 3 in the morning till 10 in the morning. That's a wide span there.
It really is.
That we're looking at. So it's better just to go ahead and get in place as soon as you can. Be safe. Don't be out on the roads. I know my husband brought me into work today. He has a Jeep, and we crossed the Bayway. And
how was it?
It was a bit gusty. It wasn't terrible, but it was a bit gusty. And then on the way home, you know, when he and our youngest daughter on their way home, she let us know it was a little scary.
Oh, I bet it was.
Yeah.
And were the waters of Mobile Bay really rising? And that's one thing that kind of freaks you out when you cross the Bayway and you see how high that water can get.
They were rising when we came across around noon, but they had not covered all the parking lots yet. You know, you're used to all the parking lots just being totally covered and the causeway being covered, but it was not at that point. And I'm sure later on we'll be checking in with our reporters to see how conditions are there. That you always expect that. You always expect the west end of Dauphin Island to flood and to close early, and that certainly has happened.
Right, we are waiting to see when the causeway will close, because it will, because there is water over quite a bit of it. So we'll be checking on that. But in the meantime, we want to take you back to the west and go to Pascagoula, where meteorologist Colleen Peterson has this report for us.
As the track of Sally has shifted more eastward, the impacts that we're going to feel here in Jackson County have changed. Earlier, I was down by the coast looking at the surge at high tide, but right now, the main impacts is going to be all of that rain that we're going to see. Already seeing some localized flooding in some low-lying areas just along the coast here in the neighboring communities. This is Wade Street and Pascagoula Street in Pascagoula. Now, the marina is surging in some of that water, but it's also mixing with this heavy rainfall that we're just starting to get. Granted, throughout the morning, it's been a consistent light rain, but now that we're starting to get some of those outer bands of Sally, more streets can start to mimic this look, especially heading towards the evening hours. And wind gusts have really been around 25 to 30 miles per hour, and we're starting to get periodic wind gusts, possibly up to 35, possibly even 40 as we head towards the evening hours. Sally is a very slow-moving storm. This is going to be a prolonged period, so the main impacts are going to be the rain felt here along the Mississippi Sound, as well as some storm surge. Reporting in Pascagoula, I'm meteorologist Colleen Peterson.
The storm certainly affecting the entire part of our Gulf Coast. As we just heard that report from Colleen in Pascagoula, there was a problem today over in Pensacola, over in Florida.
Yes, a major problem. A barge hit 3 Mile Bridge. You can see this video from earlier today where law enforcement has closed the bridge. This is Pensacola police there on the scene, and they had to close the bridge because the barge actually got stuck under it, and they didn't know how badly damaged the bridge was. So they've got to get their inspectors out there to make sure it's safe for people to drive on. In the meantime, you can see the bridge is closed in both directions. But yeah, definitely a major ordeal in Pensacola. Now, they were planning on closing this bridge because of tropical winds. We knew we were going to get those hurricane force winds, but they had to close it a little bit earlier than expected because the barge just slammed into the bridge and got stuck.
Yeah, we expect the winds to be a factor, and as they are there and have been, but as we keep hearing from our chief